So what is up, guys, and welcome. Now that we're done with the Civic Type R inspired EK Coupe, I kind of got to get into some other stuff, and I got to get my funds up. I have big plans for Betty White over there, but big plans can't happen without big money. And something that's been tying up a lot of my money is the 1964 Ranchero that you've been seeing sitting in the background. I had it parked over here for quite a while. It was over there for a little while too. So I've been kind of making this video for the past couple weeks. I don't remember if I filmed an intro, but what you're gonna see is footage quite a while ago, and then eventually we're gonna get caught up with what I'm working on today. But I want to make one whole video, that way it all makes sense. So if I didn't make an intro, welcome to Bodie Vision. You heard.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This is my 1964 Ford Ranchero. It's just been on the back burner for the longest time. I've had it for about 3 years, and for the last year and a half I haven't really touched it. It's just been sitting. It got kind of pushed to the back, like I said. But a lot of you guys didn't know that in 1957 Ford came out with the Ranchero, and then 2 years later in 1959 Chevrolet came out with the Chevy El Camino. Even though the El Camino is kind of more iconic, the Ford Ranchero is the original mullet on wheels, party in the back, business on the front, and that's what this car is gonna be. We had a lot of momentum in the build right when we started, right? You guys, this is Fat Boy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, so you guys are gonna see a lot more of his build on the way. I'm not gonna talk about it now, but you guys are definitely gonna enjoy it when that comes out. So, Fat Boy, you wanna kind of tell them what's going on with this build? First of all, it's a Ford 302. We bought it from a 1987 Mustang, right?
Yeah, from a Mustang.
Right, and
we went through and ripped everything out of that car. Today the plan was to try to fire it up.
Yeah, and how far did that go?
It didn't go very far.
Right.
Didn't go very far, but we are getting somewhere with it. We got the starter wired up. We got
tried to bang over the
it.
starter.
And then the motor seems like it's seized.
Right, so it's just not, it gets to the same point. We can see on the crankshaft, it just gets to the same point and it's locking it. So at the end of the day with Fat Boy, we just took some Marvel Mystery Oil and squirted some of it in each one of the cylinders. The idea is that the oil will sit in there and soak and loosen up anything that can be preventing our motor from turning freely. So what I want to do to turn the motor is I just put a socket right on the crankshaft. Then I'm able to rotate it, and right here is where it kept getting stuck. A little bit more. Right there. Man, I think the oil actually did the trick. And it really does seem to be free now. Maybe it was just a stuck ring, or I don't know, but it seems all good. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you have your spark plugs out, that way you're not fighting compression on the motor. So now that I know the motor's spinning freely and it doesn't have any more issues, I just wanted to kind of run over and check the compression of each cylinder before we fired it up, just to make sure there's no damage that was caused by having a stuck ring or whatever the issue was. I just want to make sure that I have decent compression across the board. So the way that we're going to do this, I just have the battery hooked straight up to the starter. It's not going through any starter relay or anything like it's going to be eventually, but we're just doing this for mock-up purposes just to make sure that the motor's all right. Yeah, that one's solid. Boy.
Yeah, 185.
So in cylinder 1, we got 110 PSI. Cylinder 2, we got all the way up to 190. And then cylinder 3, we got 130. And then cylinder 4, that's the one that I believe was stuck, because there was a whole bunch of stuff that shot out when we were turning over the motor when the spark plugs were not in there. So that's the one that worried me. And to see 70 PSI on that cylinder, it's not zero compression, but it is definitely an issue, and it's something that we're gonna have to address. So now ultimately the decision has been made. The motor has to come out. We're gonna see what's going on. I don't know why it's running that low of compression, but the only way to find out is to pull the motor. Hopefully it's just a stuck ring. So I got the motor mounts loose, I got the trans mount loose. I wanted to get that all handled so that way if the chain lift over there, I'm not dealing with that stuff and I can just rip it right out. You see, one of the downfalls of always working at the shop by myself, well, most of the time I'm by myself over here, is some stuff takes longer. I mean, that little trip I just did would have took probably about a minute, but since I had to keep getting out and in, turning the steering wheel, it took about 5 minutes, but oh well. When you're working by yourself, you figure out how to make it happen. Man, so one thing that makes this style of lift so much harder than like a regular old cherry picker lift is the fact that when you want the motor to come back, the motor's not going to move, so you got to push the whole car back. And again, being here by myself, it makes it a little harder, but ultimately look how we did it. We figured it out. We're good to go. Boom, and just like that, I got the trans separated. I got the motor in the back of the truck over here. I also got the engine stand. That way I'm going to bring it back to the house, and it's going to be nice, easy, and convenient for me to work on the motor. All right, now here we are back at the house. I mean, I wish I would have showed you guys more. I know there's no excuses for slacking on videos, but that's what I did on this one. So as soon as I got home yesterday, I pulled the motor out, and I was so anxious to kind of see what was going on. I didn't even film anything. I really apologize. I know this video is kind of jumping around from motor in the Ranchero to motor in the back of the truck, now motor semi-disassembled. So this is the cylinder bank that we were having issues with. This cylinder right here is the one that was at 60 psi, I believe, and it needs at least 90 to fire. I'm just kind of getting this ready to go so that way when Fatboy comes over here, he can get a real good look at it. When it comes to motors and all stuff like that, he's really the professional. Man, look at this. That is brand new oil. That was supposed to be the startup oil for the first run after it hasn't ran for a long time. But since we found that the compression was so bad, we had to kind of take some drastic measures. But in the end, it'll be a better, stronger, more reliable motor. So now that the pan's off, the next thing for me to do is to pull out the pistons. And it's kind of funny, this is really uncharted territory for me. I mean, I've done so many car things and paint and bodywork and fabricating and working on Hondas for years and years and just all different types of cars. But I personally have never really torn into a motor like this. So I know in my videos, I like to give you guys tips and tricks along the way, but really, you and me are both in the same situation. This is the first time I'm doing this. If doing motor work and rebuilding motors is your area of expertise and you see something that I'm doing wrong, please don't hesitate to leave that in the comment section below. Or if you think I'm doing a good job, you can leave that as well. So let's get these pistons out. Got the pistons out and it really wasn't hard at all. I mean, I didn't have any issues, and also along the way I'm really making sure to keep track of which piston went where as far as in relevance to the transmission and then the water pump or front of the motor and back of the motor. Also the direction the piston was facing, I don't want to spin it 180 degrees when I put it back, so I'm keeping track of everything along the way. I just think that's something you should do. I don't know if that's really a thing, but it's probably a thing. So I think I know what the problem is. When I was reading the compression on the pistons, some of the pistons that had a higher compression, the rings are completely loose, they're free flowing, and that's how they should be. And then the one piston that I was reading 60 psi at, the lowest reading across the board, that was the piston that the rings are the most stuck. See how they don't move at all? They're not moving whatsoever. No matter how I twist them, no matter what I do, these piston rings are stuck. And then on this piston over here, see how these can move nice and freely? This is the piston that I was reading the highest reading on. I think it was about 190 psi. Hopefully I can just get this figured out today, order some new rings. I'm gonna call some professionals, maybe over at Jegs or Summit Racing, so that way we can get this figured out, get the car back together, and get the Ranchero running real soon. That's gonna be it for this one, you guys. Please leave in the comment section below if you're interested in seeing more content on the Ranchero, or if you're not so interested in this and you just want to see me keep on doing Honda stuff. I'm gonna be doing that anyways, but let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe. You know what it is, YouTube. I'm out.